known what I wanted to be since I was 3 years old. The first time I saw Diana Prince twirl around and explode into Wonder Woman, I knew I'd found my calling. Every week, I would tune in so excited to see how Wonder Woman was going to save the day this time. And I'm guessing I'm not alone. By show of hands, who else wanted to be a superhero when they grew up? That's right. And now we know superheroes are big business, too. Avengers Endgame made $2.8 billion on its opening weekend alone. And Marvel announced phase 4 of its movie releases, so we know this trend is not slowing down anytime soon. But why do we love superheroes so much? Theories about why we love superheroes range from being moral pornography to being fantasies of power and control. Some people even theorize their love of superheroes is biological. Research out of Japan, for example, indicates that babies as young as 10 months old recognize heroism and prefer those who protect others. My theory? We love superheroes because they're aspirational and they're inspirational. Superheroes are aspirational because they create deep and powerful emotions in us that can motivate us to act. We see what's possible when our actions, our values, and identities are all aligned. Superheroes are also inspirational because they allow us to dream big and see our potential in new ways. Superheroes tackle the big challenges with ease. And the stuff that really bothers us, like trying to find a parking spot in that Trader Joe's over there, doesn't bother them one bit. Through superheroes, we're able to see what our best possible selves would be like out in the world. Now, most of us stop at dreaming about becoming a superhero because we're told we need to grow up. But what if I told you it was possible? I've come up with a 6-step plan to help you unlock your inner superhero identity. And although I can't promise that you'll be able to shoot lasers out of your eyes or leave buildings in a single bound, I can promise a way that you'll be as amazing as any character from a comic book. So here they are. 6 steps to discover your inner superhero identity. Step 1, write your origin story. So every superhero has an origin story that answers 2 basic questions. Why are they here? What got them to this place? And secondly, what's really motivating them to act? And every origin story has 2 main parts, pain and purpose. So to understand how pain and purpose come together in the origin story, let's look at 2 superheroes, Spider-Man and Rogue. So we know Spider-Man is Peter Parker, who was bit by a radioactive spider and got his powers. Rogue is a mutant who is a member of the X-Men, who can absorb people's energy from skin to skin contact. First, pain. Pain is all the hurt and trauma that contributes to who we are. Some pain is really big, like the loss of a loved one. In Spider-Man's case, the death of his Uncle Ben, and knowing that he could have actually saved him if he had tried, is the pain that drives his origin story. But pain doesn't need to be huge to be transformational. Microaggressions, or the slings and arrows of daily life, can also drive our origin story forward. In Rogue's case, her pain is a series of isolation and abandonment issues she has, first from the loss of her mother, then from being placed with a really cold and strict guardian, and then finally, when her mutant powers manifest, she can literally not touch anybody. So if pain is a raw material, then purpose is what we do with it. Without purpose, we can remain anchored in the past, feeling hopeless and helpless. But we can use our pain as a catalyst to drive our purpose and move forward with meaning and direction. So Spider-Man finds his purpose when he adopts a maxim, with great power comes great responsibility, and becomes a crime fighter in New York City. And Rogue finds her purpose as a member of the X-Men to fight for mutant rights. So in step 1 of your superhero journey, start by asking yourself the questions: what is my pain, and how does that drive my purpose? Combine your pain and purpose into your origin story that answers the question for you: what am I here to do? Step 2, discover your superpower. Now, for most of us who are adults, we spend our lives doing a list of tasks that makes us a jack or Jill of almost all trades, but the master of none. But superheroes don't abide by those kinds of rules. They do one or two or maybe three things really, really well, and then they do those as much as possible. So who's a great example of this? The Incredible Hulk. So as you know, or may know, the Incredible Hulk is Bruce Banner, who by all accounts is a brilliant scientist. But that's not what makes him a superhero. It's only as the Hulk that Dr. Banner is a superhero because he does one thing and one thing well. Hulk? Smash! It's what he lives for. So to discover your superhero power, start by thinking about a time that you were doing something you really loved. Maybe you were doing something that you got so absorbed in that you lost sense of time or space. And it's something that you love doing so much that you do it regardless of the outcome. It's really the process that drives you. Some people call this being in the zone. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi calls this flow state. Flow state is when we're engaged and focused in the present moment. We're really able to lose ourselves in the work. And we're so perfectly matched with the challenge, it feels effortless. In flow state, we feel focused, active, and happy. And we're, like I said, we're so perfectly matched with the challenge, we feel unstoppable. Now that's what I call having a superpower. Step 3, protect yourself from kryptonite. Now we all know what kryptonite is. And like Superman, we've all got something that drains us of our powers. The challenge for us, though, is to figure out how we can protect ourselves, just like Superman does. One way to protect yourself from kryptonite is to practice self-care. Self-care is about recharging your batteries, and it's about taking care of yourself so that you have the energy to do what you need to do. For some people, it's sleeping in late on the weekends, and for others, it might be having that piece of cake just because it's Tuesday. But if self-care is like recharging your batteries, then sometimes you need to really upgrade the entire power grid. This is what I call radical self-care. Radical self-care means tackling those challenges that are super, super hard for you, but absolutely necessary so you can be your best. It's usually what we think of as adulting. And it means setting boundaries and saying yes to yourself, even though it means saying no to someone else. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be easy. Even Superman faces a challenge that he knows that he can't tackle by himself. But this is the one he calls in the Justice League. Your personal Justice League is that group of friends, families, and coworkers who love you, who support you, and who genuinely want the best for you. They're going to tell you the hard truths that you really need to hear, even though you do not want to hear them. But you know that these people will be by your side, no matter what, in good times and bad. So in step 3, ask yourself, what are ways that I can recharge my energy? Second, what are the challenges I need to tackle to be my best? And third, who are those friends and family that have always got my back? Step 4. Be a crusader. So it's not just enough to have superpowers. You've got to do something to be a superhero. But there are hundreds and hundreds of causes to get involved in, and doing the wrong thing is often more demoralizing than doing nothing at all. How do you decide? To figure this out, we need to look no further than the caped crusader himself, Batman. So what is it about Bruce Wayne as Batman that makes us think superhero and not guy in a cape who took it way too far? Bruce Wayne transcends even hero status to become a superhero as Batman because he uses everything he can for one singular purpose, which is to rid Gotham City of crime. His vast fortune, his business assets, his brilliant mind, his training, even his reputation as a playboy, all deployed for one singular mission. Now, most of us in the audience don't have Bruce Wayne's ability to self-fund a superhero lifestyle. but we can learn from him what it means to be a crusader. Finding your personal crusade is about finding something that's going to let you lean into your superpowers as much as possible and minimize your exposure to kryptonite. Most importantly, it will connect you to your cause and your purpose in a way that will allow you to stay with the fight for a long, long time, through good times and bad, victories and defeats. Step 5, rise up and recommit. Now, setbacks and defeats are inevitable, and even superheroes are not immune to the fight. Every single superhero you can think of has faced some challenge that's knocked them down. But the amazing thing about superheroes is they always get back up. They show us what it means to demonstrate fortitude or perseverance. In another word, grit. Well, what is grit? Researcher Angela Lee Duckworth defines grit as perseverance plus passion to achieve a long-term goal. Some people think of it as mental toughness. Whatever you think of it as, grit is perhaps the single most important factor in your ability to achieve success in achieving your long-term goals. Now, the good news about grit is it's something that we can practice and develop over time. And we can look to superheroes to see how we can do that. Superheroes are able to stick with the fight because they are grounded in their purpose, focused on their goals, and they use their superpowers as much as possible for the long term. Now, if I'd given this talk a couple years ago, I would have stopped right here, because I assumed that the path to superhero status was a straight line from start to finish. I was primed to put these 5 steps into action when, in 2018, I was offered the role I had been preparing my entire career for. I felt for sure it was the opportunity of a lifetime, and I was willing to do whatever I could to succeed. But I'm guessing you know it did not go that well. From the very beginning, I felt like everything I did was wrong. I could never get any traction, and every time I hit a setback, it was harder and harder to recover. I would come home feeling dejected, demoralized, and completely drained. And I ended up questioning my choices, my abilities, even my own identity. This experience helped me realize that there's one more step in our superhero journey. A step that allows you to exit a story that's not working and start a new one. So what is step 6? Step 6 is to claim rebirth as your birthright. Now, in my opinion, there's no better example of what this looks like than Barbara Gordon. Barbara Gordon is the original Batgirl until she was attacked by the Joker one night and left paralyzed from the waist down. Now, she could have thrown up her hands and been like, well, I'm done. Clearly can't be Batgirl anymore, so it's over. Or she could have persisted in an identity that clearly was not going to work for her. But instead of doing either of those things, she takes stock of who she is now and what she can do now and makes a bold decision to be reborn as Oracle. Barbara's journey is a lesson for us all, I think, because so often we're really invested in a role or a story or an identity that we can't see if it's working for us or not. But we don't have to be tied to who we were in the past or a story that doesn't make sense for us anymore. We have the ability to redefine ourselves at any point we are in our journey and make the decision to be who we need to be for the journey ahead. I still have that little girl's dream inside me to twirl around and magically turn into Wonder Woman. But I know now that the road to superhero status is not that simple or that easy. I've had to make some hard choices, be really careful with how I spend my energy, and learn to take care of myself. I've learned that growth requires a stick-with-it approach for the long haul. But that sometimes when you come to an ending, it's really the opportunity for a new beginning, if you let it. I believe that these 6 steps can help everyone unlock their inner superhero, just waiting to be unleashed on the world. And really, we don't have time waiting for those fantasy superheroes to come save us. We've got to become the superheroes we wish to be as children, to help our friends, our families, our communities, and our world. Thank you.